It's Monday night, and we're sharpening our takes. You're tuned into The Cut, hosted by Thomas Roth.
All right, everybody, welcome into another edition of The Cut on this gorgeous Monday evening. It's December 16th, and I'm here. My name's Tom Roth. We're joined tonight by college football fanatic Nate Winchell. Nate, say hello to the people.
Hello, everybody. Tom, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, buddy. We've known each other for a little. Nate and I have known each other for a little bit here. I started at another podcast back in the day. His son was a quarterback of the Edgewood Warriors football team and actually held the county's all-time leading passing record for a little while there. And I met Nate through that, doing that podcast, and we kind of connected, started golfing together, doing just talking sports all the time. And Nate's been watching the show and said, hey, I'd really like to come in and talk college football with you guys. And I thought, what better time to do that than right after the Heisman Trophy voting and on the precipice of college football bowl season. So before we get into everything tonight, I'd like everybody to like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment on it with us tonight. Let's have a little bit of interaction. We wouldn't be here tonight without one of our sponsors, which is Cracked. Cracked in the Ashtabula Mall is a cell phone repair and electronic repair, for that matter, company. You can go to crackedrepair.com and get a quote. You can go in there, basically see, if you got a Samsung Galaxy S20, you can see what a screen repair would cost. Get a quote on there, set up a time with Anthony to get that done, or you can give him a phone call or go visit him in the Ashtabula Town Square. Cracked Repairs, where we go for everything in my family, and we've never been dissatisfied. So hit up crackedrepair.com or go visit him in the Ashtabula Town Square. I'm sure he'd love to see you. So thank you very much to Cracked, and we're going to get right into this tonight. The Heisman Trophy travesty of Travis Hunter winning the Heisman Trophy. So Nate, you had some opinions on this. We talked at length the past couple days regarding it. And before we get into stats and everything like that, give me some of your thoughts on just the whole process of it. Like what was going through your head when you saw that Travis Hunter won?
I mean, it doesn't surprise me that he won.
Yeah.
I mean, all things considered, we had talked earlier, just a couple things. The kid had an amazing season. We're no slight to the young man by any means. 92 receptions, 1,152 yards, 14 touchdowns. Kid played both ways, played almost every snap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Literally almost every snap. And he's going to be a heck of a NFL football player on Sundays. But then you go Ashton Genty, and some of these stats are just mind-blowing and just amazing. The 344 carries. That's 26 carries a game. 2,497 yards. 29 touchdowns. 7.3 yards per carry. They had one loss, and that was to Oregon. And that's because of two bad special teams plays. You take Ashton Genty off that team, they're in the Duke Mayo Bowl or something. Yeah. They're not in the college football playoffs. No chance. But you go down to Colorado, they were 9-3. They got waxed by Nebraska and Kansas. Two teams that definitely shouldn't have lost to, and definitely shouldn't have lost to that bad. Now they lost to K-State, and K-State's tough. They had a pretty decent team all year, but again, a game they should have won. Mm-hmm. Now Colorado wins all three of these games. They're 12-0 going to the conference championship. With all that being said, all that goes that way. I have no problem with Travis Hunter being the Heisman winner. There's probably not even a debate there among the public, let alone us or anyone else out there. But you didn't.
Exactly.
And the other guy did everything in his power and then some. And it's not like Boise State just runs football all the time.
Correct.
They don't.
Correct. Anthony, I think that we have a graphic that you can pull up there regarding his quarterback for most of the year, Maddox Madsen, sophomore out of Utah. He had 2,700 passing yards with 22 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. And I mean, in the Big 12, which is a very tough conference, he's slinging the football while feeding his star running back. I mean, there was a great balance of offense there. Now, to be fair, Boise State doesn't have a Khalil Shakir like they had a few years ago. Khalil Shakir now with the Buffalo Bills, lighting it up, right? They don't have a Austin Pettis from years ago who went to the 49ers, but they still were throwing the football. It wasn't like they were a one-dimensional team. They were very balanced. And it just blows my mind when you say these stats, because when we were talking, his yards per carry eclipse one of the darlings of college football of Reggie Bush. He has a better yard per carry average than Reggie Bush. He had better stats than, at the one time, all-time leading rusher in college football history, Ron Dane had. What did Ron Dane have the year he got snubbed from the Heisman?
The year he won the Heisman.
Won the Heisman, excuse me.
1,834 yards.
So, and that was he was Nebraska, correct?
Ron Dane was Wisconsin.
Ron Dane was Wisconsin, excuse me. So, and that was a traditionally run-heavy school. They were running that triple option for years. You know, there's a really interesting stat talking about Wisconsin. I have it up here. So, Genty, you ran through him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Melvin Gordon. Remember Melvin Gordon?
A couple years ago, yes.
At Wisconsin, had 343 carries, 2,587 rushing yards, a 7.5 yards per attempt average, 29 touchdowns, 19 catches, 153 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So 32 total touchdowns to Genty's 30. Melvin Gordon didn't win the Heisman that year. You know who won the Heisman that year in 2014? Marcus Mariota.
Yes, that was,
in my opinion, another example of a popularity contest, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, the stats you ran through for Travis Hunter are amazing. The kid really did light it up this year. And we can't discount the talent that the kid has, right?
Absolutely not. He's going to play on Sundays. I mean, probably going to be a top 5 draft pick.
At a high level on Sundays, too.
Absolutely.
Like, he is a gamer. But the problem comes with Travis Hunter. He played, how many snaps did he play this year? 300 something?
Yeah, it was well over 300 snaps.
Well over 300 snaps. And he did that the year before at Colorado. And he did that at Jackson State when he was with Prime there, right?
Yeah.
So you've got
He missed 3 games last year because he got hurt.
That's right. That's right. He hurt his belly. That Colorado State kid crushed him. The point I'm making is we talk about running backs getting wear and tear by the time they get to the NFL, right? And that's why they don't get drafted high, correct? Mm-hmm. Because they have all that wear and tear on them. Hunter's got over 1,000 snaps played in college alone, more than likely, right? How do we justify spending a high draft pick on a kid that already has ran 10 miles when everyone else hasn't even ran 3?
Well, I think he goes to the NFL, and he goes to the NFL as a cornerback. Mm-hmm. I don't think that, you may see him in a package here, package there, but I honestly don't see that you're going to see him play any close to those kind of snaps that he played in college. I think, he's going to be drafted as a DB, and, those days in the NFL, that's almost impossible to do in the NFL.
It is.
So
because they can game plan for you at that point, right? And the other thing too is a lot of people say he's going to be a two-way player in the NFL. If you're going to be a two-way player in the NFL, you need to put him in a system where you can supplement him with other players. And I think that there's only, and I hate saying this, but I think there's only one team he could go to and realistically play 2 ways. And that's the Cleveland Browns.
He ain't going to the Cleveland Browns.
I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't, because we need offensive line.
I got news for you. Neither him or Shedeur Sanders are going to any cold weather team.
No, Deion won't let that happen.
Prime ain't going to let that. That's not going to happen.
But the reason I say that is you realistically, the Browns have Denzel Medical Ward and Martin Emerson and Greg Newsome as their corners, but Greg Newsome plays a slot corner role, right? Greg Newsome's contract's going to be up. You can let Newsome walk. You can let Hunter play the slot corner, and then you can have Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman on the outside, and Travis Hunter in the slot. You could do that. I don't think there's another team really constructed in the way to make him play two ways, or facilitate a two-way play, excuse me, that the Browns could afford him. But like I said, we need offensive line help. Now, you and I were also talking earlier. The Heisman Trophy voting has truly become a popularity contest. It truly has been. When did it stop being the best player in the nation?
2014, when Mariota won.
When Mariota won. There's only been a few instances since then of truly the best player winning the Heisman. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow wins the Heisman. And he should have. How did Justin Fields never win a Heisman?
Or C.J. Stroud, for that matter.
C.J. Stroud finished third that year. That year he was a finalist. He finished third behind Max Duggan and what's his fuck? I don't even remember. But Caleb Williams.
Yes.
Caleb Williams. Dude that likes to paint his nails. Who, by all accounts, is a decent pro. I mean, Caleb Williams will be an all right player, just not right now. And that's okay. Quarterbacks, as you know, need time to develop. Caleb Williams was thrown into a situation that wasn't really great with his offensive line. He has no excuse with the wide receivers. You got DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Roma Dunze on the field, and he made Cole Kmet look good, but the offensive line wasn't doing him any favors. And I think that it's unfair that we look at it as a popularity contest because the Heisman is the gold standard of a college football player. And I think we can both agree, Ashton Jeanty was the gold standard of a college football player.
I would agree.
You said it best 5 minutes ago. You take Jeanty off that Boise State team, they are in the Duke Mayo Bowl.
Yeah, they're not playing in the college football playoffs.
They are not.
Because he's the engine that drives that team. I mean,
absolutely.
He's the undeclared. He's the leader of that football team. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. And it's the way he plays, the way he leads on the field, off the field, in the classroom is, if by all accounts you've heard anything from Boise State. Did he win the Heisman? Yeah.
He should have. He was the best player on a team that made the college football playoff. And if you put Travis Hunter at Boise State, Maddox Madsen probably has about 1,000 more passing yards, and he probably has 14 more touchdowns, right? But does that translate to the success? No, because Boise State, as constructed, needed a running back to put that offense going. They didn't need another receiver. But Colorado, if you put Ashton Jeanty on Colorado, they're 12-0 because they have that. Colorado still has that Horn kid who's fantastic as a wide receiver, right? They got a great tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Ashton Jeanty leads them to an undefeated season.
Well, that was one of Colorado's biggest problem. They couldn't run the football.
Dallin Hayden, former Ohio State running back, transferred to Colorado thinking the grass was greener. And it wasn't. Not for the rushing game.
Nope.
No. But a guy like Ashton Jeanty, he made a lot out of nothing this year. So I think we both agree it was a travesty that Travis Hunter won the Heisman. Great guy, leader off the field, 4.0 grade point average, while doing all of this on the field. His speech was beautiful to his dad. That was beautiful. He knows how to play the game on and off the field.
He does.
But how much of his success also came from Prime? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the kid was committed to Florida State and then becomes the first #1 overall recruit to flip to an HBCU because Jackson State's HBCU and turned the culture around.
Yeah.
And they're still doing good.
Yeah, they just won.
Yeah, they're winning at a high level. Travis Hunter played a huge part in that, just as Deion Sanders did and just as Shadur Sanders did. But I truly think Travis needed Shadur and Shadur needed Travis. And we're going to see when they go to the NFL, if they break up, how bad of a breakup is it going to be?
We'll find out.
We're definitely going to find out. So before we wrap up our Heisman talk here, Nate, I want to know just your general impressions of. I want to know your general impressions of who you thought the best player in college football was this year, outside of Travis Hunter or Ashton Genty. If there was one guy that could have won the Heisman that wasn't the two of them, who would it have been?
I don't think there wasn't another. It was 1A, 1B, right there.
And I love that. That's what I was hoping you'd say.
There's no, I mean, there's other guys that had good years, guys that weren't well known. The Scatterboot kid from Arizona State,
Yes.
tremendous running back. Self-proclaimed best running back in college football. Not so much, but great running back.
He did his
nonetheless.
thing.
But as far as for the Heisman, 1A, 1B, I mean, right there.
I think if there was ever a year that there could have been a co-Heisman, it would have been this year.
The vote was very close.
244 votes separated them, which is the most narrow in I think it was since 2009.
Yes.
It was the most narrow since 2009, which is wild to think about because think about how all the prolific players that have come through and won the Heisman Trophy in the past 15 years. The game has only evolved more towards offense because make no bones about it, up until this year, the last player that even played a snap on defense to win the Heisman was Charles Woodson, right? So now you open the door for defense a little bit to the Heisman now, but the game is an offensive game now. And we have seen prolific passers, prolific receivers, prolific running backs. And I don't think we're ever going to see another Ashton Genty. Well, we will. We will see another Ashton Genty, but we're not going to see Ashton Genty type stats on a team that throws the football because Navy, Army, those guys, you get those kind of stats all the time. Realistically, at Ohio State, you're not going to get a 2,500-yard rusher.
Yeah, no.
No.
The days of Eddie George and Zeke Elliott, those are gone.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins, they're done. I mean, Trevion Henderson, Keyshawn Judkins was supposed to be this two-headed monster, like kind of Chubb Kareem Hunt-esque, right? It didn't really work out because we had to throw the ball more. And I love what you said, that there were some lesser-known kids, because I'm going to give you a dark horse on who I thought should have been in contention for the Heisman. And that's Kyle McCord. 4,300 passing yards this year, man. Led the nation. Turned Syracuse around.
No.
I think he should have been in contention.
I mean, you can't have a game where you throw 5 interceptions.
You can't, but you also can't have a game like Marcus Mariota did when he won the Heisman, where he fumbled 3 times in the game, but he still wins.
True.
And it kind of stinks, but the standard, I think, has changed. It used to be, we were talking about this, it used to be the best player on one of the best teams. And Colorado, a 9-3 record is very hard to get in today's age of college football. It is, because all teams are good now with NIL. And NIL, we were talking before the show, NIL has drastically changed the landscape of college football, especially bowl season. And that's what we're going to get into next, guys. We're going to be getting into bowl season now. We're going to be pulling up a little graphic here. It's a little video. And what this video is going to show is some of the bowl games that are going to be popping off. We'll go through a few of them and give you our predictions, that kind of thing. And then we're going to get into the college football playoff. I know last week I gave you kind of my prediction, but now, with how everything is so drastically changing with these opt-outs and transfers, my prediction's totally different. So before we get into that, go ahead and like, share, comment, and subscribe to the video, the channel, so we can continue to bring you great content, and we continue to bring great guests like Nate on, who have a wealth of knowledge of sports. Thank you again to Cracked, our sponsor. Awesome sponsor. Awesome equipment that Anthony has been able to put out here and make for us to put a quality product out to you guys. So now we're going to get into the college football bowl season. It's time to go bowling. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Nate and I love this time of the year. We got another buddy, John Butchko, who loves college bowl season. It's a work of art when he texts you about it because he just gives so obscure references. But before we get into the bowl game preview, Nate, we talked before the show. NIL and the transfer portal have dynamically changed bowl season. How do you see the NIL and transfer portal changing bowl season? Or how do you see that it has changed it, I should say?
Well, you need to look no further than Marshall. Marshall, third of their team, left with their head coach and went to Southern Miss. And, you have all these kids opting out, transferring out. Ohio State had a couple. You look at Alabama. They lost almost their whole receiving core.
Yep. Ryan Williams, kill everyone.
Gone.
Ain't going to be killing anyone in the bowl games.
And my biggest, and I said this years ago, remember a conversation you and I had, and had this with others. I said back then, the NIL and the transfer portal were going to kill college football. The NCAA is solely at fault for this. They just threw it out there, rolled it out, roll with it.
Yep.
Well, now you're seeing the consequences of it. Half these teams playing in these bowl games, they don't know who they're going to have in their roster. They might
have no idea.
They might think they have a kid tonight. He'll be gone tomorrow.
Yep.
So, in my opinion, it needs to be regulated. And I do think at some point it has to be, because these college coaches are losing their minds.
They are.
I mean, you got teams that are prepping for a playoff game, and their other part of their coaching staff is trying to get kids in for visits for the transfer portal so they don't lose out on that. So, I mean, definitely I think that there's some changes that need to be made. Portal needs to be regulated. NIL definitely needs to be regulated. Or otherwise, you're going to go back to the situation we had 4, 5, 6 years ago when you have the top 5 teams in college football. They got all the players. No one else can afford them.
Nope. No one else can afford them.
So it's a problem. Yeah, it's a big problem, and that's for people to make a lot more money than us to figure out.
Absolutely.
But it needs to be figured out. Otherwise, college football is going to be an absolute nightmare until that happens.
100%.
My point of view on this is that, and I told you earlier before the show when we were talking, got to shut the portal down.
Yeah.
Shut it down. Shut it down until after bowl season, until after the playoffs. You get rearranged the time frame. You've already done it with recruiting. So fix the portal. And you definitely got to fix the NIL.
Yeah.
You can't have all these millions. I mean, you're going to have teams spending $100 million on these kids.
Ohio State had a $20 million roster this year.
They weren't even the top in NIL.
No. They not even close. Not even close. I mean, I told you earlier. So, interesting fact, if you guys didn't know, the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, Brock Purdy, has been to a Super Bowl. He's been at the top 10 statistically since his first full season as a starter in major passing categories, right? He's making $962,000 this year because he was Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL draft. He was the last pick of the draft, right? Shadur Sanders just got a check cut to him a few days ago for his NIL payment, and it was $6.2 million. In what world does Shadur Sanders deserve more money than Brock Purdy? He doesn't. He doesn't.
Especially not when you're in college. And
no.
That's another pet peeve of mine. Someone made a comment the other day on one of the message boards about, someone made a negative comment about, the NIL, and someone said, well, then you must like slavery in college football. And I'm like, well, wait a second, hold on, because it's not even like that. Think about it. These kids get full ride to college. All their basic needs are taken care of. Food, housing, they get supplemented for housing. If not, their housing paid for, probably depending on what school you go to. Everything that goes with their medical, they're taken care of for all their time that they're in college. Do I think they have a right to transfer if they want? Absolutely. But
1,000%.
You shouldn't be allowed to transfer every year.
No. You transfer one time, you're done. You transfer one time, you're done.
And that's how you stop all the nonsense that's going on with college football.
Absolutely. These kids can just, it's free agency.
Has to be regulated.
And I love the point that you made that these guys get all their needs taken care of, but it's not just basic needs. These guys live in better apartments. They get access to better food. They get access to amazing things for being on the football team, right? They go in, University of Oregon, right? You go in to your locker room, you gotta, if you want a new pair of Kobe's, they're in your locker. You know what I mean? Like, I can't remember being able to just go home and like my wife being like, hey, a package came for you because you're a good car salesman, and there's a fucking pair of LeBrons. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember that ever happening for
Just
me.
give you an example of this. Naheem offered, who was committed to Ohio State,
And then flipped at the 11th
flipped to
hour.
Oregon. You want to know one of the reasons why he flipped to Oregon? Because Nike gave him his own shoe deal.
I was just going to say it would probably had to do with a shoe contract.
Nike gave him his own, plus who knows how much money they threw at him.
An insane amount.
So there you have it.
And I don't fault the kids, because if you would have told me if I was halfway decent at football, hey, you come here, we're going to give you $1 million. Fuck yeah, I'm going to go there. I'm not going to turn down $1 million. You know what I mean? But
Then you have situations like LSU and Bryce Underwood,
Yeah.
who this kid was locked up like since he was a freshman in high school.
yep,
And here comes scum,
we don't even want to say their name.
throwing $10.5 million at him. Probably actually more than that, because I doubt that number is accurate. And the kid flips.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what college football has turned into now. Someone throws a paycheck at us, and we're gonna flip from our 4-year commitment.
Exactly. And the thing that blows my mind about it is you already have a free education. What you do with the education's up to you, but you're not going to graduate with any student debt. So all the money that you get in your job, because most of you won't make the NFL, right? There's a very small percentage that make the NFL, but a lot of these guys get NIL deals. So you're graduating with no debt. Every dollar you make in your profession goes right to you. Like, I agree that they should be paid. They should be. Could you imagine the NIL contract that Johnny Manziel would have had? Or Reggie Bush? It would have been astronomical. But
See, this is where it needs to be structured. And I'm not saying not pay the kids, and by no means good for them.
100%.
Congratulations to them, because you're in a world now where that's what the state of college football is. But it can't be the wild, wild west and a free for all.
let me ask you a question. Bryce Underwood gets $10.5 million. Let's say he goes to the NFL and he's a top pick. He's a top 3 pick. Well, brother, my 5-year contract is $60 million. That's $12 million a year. That's exactly what I was making in college. And I'm the number 1 overall draft pick, or a top 5 draft pick, right? I'm not playing. So then what happens with the NFL salary cap and how they adjusted that so that the Jamarcus Russell situation didn't happen again? How does that play out?
I think you're going to find that I can't stand the NFL either, but the NFL, they're going to tell these kids it's what it's going to be. You either take it or you don't play. You don't want to play, that's fine. Go play in the CFL.
Go play.
Go UFL.
Go play with The Rock.
Yeah, I mean, at some point the insanity has to stop.
It does.
And now you got situations like that linebacker in Florida who
$45K a month.
A game.
It was a game?
A game. And he wanted assurances that he was going to play on third downs.
Yes.
And this and that. And Florida, good for Florida, told him to go pound salt.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of thing that can't happen.
Absolutely.
These kids,
Absolutely.
I mean, I get it. Okay, you at the point now where you got the right to get paid, but don't be doing stupid shit like going out and making demands that I want X amount of money per week and I want to be guaranteed that I'm going to do. That's why Kyle McCord got jettisoned out of here, because he wanted guarantees that he was going to play. And
Ryan Day wouldn't do that.
So good for these college coaches, because someone at some point's got to put their foot down and say, okay, enough's enough.
Absolutely. And they should. I think the first guy that does it is Bill Belichick.
Oh,
Shout out to Bill Belichick. For those of you who don't know, got hired to be the head coach of the University of North Carolina. 15 wins away from breaking Don Shula's all-time NFL wins record. He said, forget that. I'm going to college, and I'm going to make an imprint.
here's my question. You're Bill Belichick. You're 72 years old. What the hell are you doing? Retire.
Well, I think, Nate, to be fair, I think his girlfriend's in her 5th year at UNC right now. So I think he just wanted to be closer to her, which good for him. God bless. But there's a gaping hole at quarterback at UNC, and there is a kid looking to transfer, and his name's Quinn Ewers. Because the Arch Manning show's about to start.
That should have started already, but that's a conversation for
another podcast.
Later in the show.
So Quinn Ewers, if he transfers to UNC, I could see it going very well for Quinn because he wants to be a top draft pick, and Belichick could do it.
It wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise me at all, but that'd be a second transfer because he transferred from OSU to Texas and then Texas to UNC if that happens.
You know, you've got kids. Speaking of, you've got kids that are transferring every year.
Mm-hmm.
I just seen a thing the other day. A kid, 3rd year in college. Well, he's on his 3rd transfer.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Jaden Rashada transferred from Florida to Arizona State. Now he's at Georgia. And that's the kid that made the big stink about Florida not honoring the NIL contract because he was promised like $15 million or something. They were like, "Go get out of here." No, we're not doing that.
Well, then you had that kid earlier in the year from UNLV.
Yes.
The quarterback who walked because he said that he was promised X amount of money. Now, and I don't know the whole details of that situation. And quite frankly, if that's the case, and if they promised the kid, they should have paid the kid.
Absolutely.
But if that wasn't the case, which, you know, not really a whole lot of information out there about that situation, but basically UNLV said,
bye.
See ya.
Yeah, we'll be fine. Go ahead.
And they were
more than fine.
Pretty good season.
They had a great season. Now let's talk about a couple team seasons here. Anthony has the graphic up here, the video. I'm gonna start. Nate, you just hop in when you want, brother. But I'm gonna preview a couple bowl games here for you guys. I worked hard on this, and I'm very excited. And a couple bowl games happened, but tomorrow is when bowl season really pops off. And we start with the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. What the hell is that? All I know is that it's Memphis versus West Virginia. Okay? So, Chad Scott is taking over the reins for Neil Brown at WVU. I got a connection to WVU. My wife's cousin, Jalen Anderson, played there. He has entered the transfer portal. I think the man would look very good in scarlet and gray. We do need another running back. Jalen, on the off chance you're watching, OHIO, baby. Come home. Perry boy. But WVU struggles against the pass, and Seth Hennigan, the quarterback for Memphis, threw for 3,200 yards and 23 touchdowns this year, and Rock Taylor, the number 1 wide receiver, had 834 yards on the season. Now, Jaheim White, who beat my wife's cousin out as the running back, led WVU in rushing with 834 yards on the, or 817 yards on the season with 7 touchdowns. But Memphis was number 9 nationally against the rush. WVU is going to have to run the ball because Neil Brown's aired out game plan will be out the window. Chad Scott's a little bit more of a conservative coach. My prediction, Memphis 35, WVU 14. If you're a money line guy, make sure you lock in the Memphis money line on that game. Okay? We're going to be scrolling down a little bit. Western Kentucky versus James Madison's an interesting one to me.
James Madison.
You're a James Madison guy?
James Madison.
Okay. What's your prediction on that one?
I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be, some points be put up in that game, I think. But I think, maybe a 1-score game. But I like James Madison there.
It's interesting you say that because I had James Madison 32, Western Kentucky 28. Tyson Helton, the head coach at Western Kentucky, is 4-1 in bowl games. Now, Tyson Helton has also had prolific passers at Western Kentucky. We will remember a young man by the name of Bailey Zappi,
yes,
who is now elevated to the main roster for the Browns. Shout out my friend Tyler Griffith, who I work with at our dealership, who believes that Bailey Zappi will be the savior for the Cleveland Browns. Tyler, I love you, and I I think that you might be right for a game or two because Bailey Zappi did light it up for the Patriots for a little bit there. But he had Bill Belichick as his coach and not Kevin Stefanski. Not that Stefanski is a bad coach, but I do think Caden Veltkamp has 23 touchdown passes to Alonzo Barrett's 26. And Alonzo Barrett is the quarterback for James Madison. But here's where it gets interesting, Nate. Alonzo Barrett has 442 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground. So, James Madison 32, Western Kentucky 28.
Sounds about right.
I think that's about right. Now, we're going to go Cal versus UNLV. We were just talking about UNLV.
Love that quarterback for you.
Love him. Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza for Cal is back, but I think his last name is Maava for UNLV. I think that's his last name. He's a gamer. He's an absolute gamer.
Because I watched them play in their game, was it last week? I mean, they almost pulled it out, but.
Yes, and Barry Odom was their head coach. He just left for Purdue. Okay? Now, I think UNLV is a more consistent team. They had a quarterback change midseason when that kid left because of the NIL misunderstanding, we'll call it. But they were still consistent. They still did their thing. And I think UNLV beats the brakes off of Cal in this game to the tune of 21-7. Cal's in a state of flux. And
UNLV's defense is pretty good.
They are very good.
So, I like that score. A couple scores. I think UNLV.
I think UNLV you're going to see them evolve more over the next 3 years. And I think that they become a more consistent team. And I think in the next 3-4 years, you could realistically see them make a push for the college football playoff.
Yeah, it's all about recruiting.
It is all about recruiting. But hey, who doesn't want to get an NIL deal and then go blow that in Vegas, baby? Turn that $500K NIL deal into $1 million real quick. And then we got the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. I love the New Orleans Bowl. I think it's fun.
I don't know.
Now listen,
Georgia Southern, maybe I
have Georgia Southern winning 24-3. But here's a fun fact for you, my friend. This is Sam Houston's first FBS bowl. They've never made a bowl game as a member of the FBS. However, Caleb Weaver, their star safety, hit the transfer portal and is a target for Ohio State. I think it's too much for Sam Houston to overcome, and I think that Georgia Southern blows them out 24-3. Anthony, go down, baby. Here's the one I'm really excited about. I'm really excited about these two games right here. Ohio versus Jacksonville State, the Staff DNA Cure Bowl. Ohio's our MAC champs. You know the last time they won the MAC championship?
Long time ago.
The 60s.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Trey Stewart, running back for Ohio. Great running back. And Ohio's defense had 31 sacks on the year. They get to the quarterback. They only allowed 11 rushing touchdowns on the year. I think that Ohio blows them out 31-18. I think it's a decent score. Now, here's the real interesting game. Tulane versus Florida. We talk about the transfer portal. Tulane's quarterback entered the transfer portal, Darian Mensah, right? You know who didn't enter the transfer portal? DJ Lagway. He is one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the country. And Florida came on at the end of the year.
Yeah, I was going to say, Florida had a really good last 3 or 4 games of the season. When they started the year, they were the joke of college football. I mean, the joke was how long was Bill Napier going to have his job for? And, he did a heck of a job turning that program around in season. But you're right. I think Florida by a couple scores.
I got Florida 42, Tulane 24. And I think that that's a mortal lock for a money line. I don't think that Tulane losing their quarterback, when Tulane is so predicated on the play action and RPOs, I don't see them being able to institute a new quarterback on this short of notice, because Mensah entered the transfer portal last week, right? They've had 7 days to put a new kid in. How's that going to work? Florida has the advantage because they have the continuity. Because it's funny, like you said, they were the joke. Who was going to lose their job first, Mike Norvell or Billy Napier?
And neither one of them lost their job.
Neither one of them lost their jobs. I don't get it. How is Florida State surviving?
Yeah, because Norville got. I mean, they got all the sanctions by the NCAA, so they had to suffer through that. The transfer portal hurt them, and injuries hurt them.
They did.
And I think the way that they got snubbed last year going into the playoffs absolutely hurt them, and it hurt that program. And Norville survives. I think that he's going to have to make some serious changes. At Florida State, he's already fired coordinators, hired coordinators. So, he's not sitting around and waiting to see what happens next. He's getting it done right now. So
if I were Mike Norvell, I'd be really pissed right now. Reason being, they left Florida State out of the playoff last year because Jordan Travis got hurt. And the NCAA said, because your whole life you're brought up, there's no I in team, right?
Right.
The committee said there is an I in team if your quarterback gets hurt. So they set a precedent. But what happened to Georgia? Carson Beck got hurt. Now he might not even play. So by that logic, Georgia should have been out of the playoff. Am I wrong?
Well, the reason why Georgia's in because they beat Texas in the SEC championship game.
That's true. It's all true
they
things.
beat Texas not once; they beat Texas twice.
Twice.
We'll get to that when we get to
We will.
game because I have my feelings on that. But
this is just a tease here. I love doing the teases. Anthony, scroll through a little bit. Myrtle Beach Bowl. Ethan Vasco's not playing. University of Texas. University of South Texas. Whatever it is. They have Josh McCown's kid.
Yeah, that's you. It's University of Texas San Antonio.
San Antonio.
The Roadrunners. I believe the Roadrunners.
They have a beautiful.
They've had a good season too. So
absolutely, they have beautiful uniforms. They're fun to play with on NCAA 25.
I think they beat Coastal Carolina by a bunch.
I got 28-10.
I watched Coastal Carolina play a couple. They're limited in some things they can do offensively. Mm-hmm. I like UTSA by a couple scores.
And Ethan Vasco, their quarterback, entered the portal. So they don't have their quarterback going in. Far cry from Grayson McCall, if you remember him, lighting it up for him. Ethan Vasco wasn't bad, but he's out. Owen McCown, I think, throws for 300 plus. And it's a 28-10 game. And then we go Northern Illinois' Fresno State. What did Northern Illinois do this year?
They beat the brakes off of Notre Dame.
They sure did. And they have an invitation to join the Mountain West Conference and get out of the MAC, go to a bit of a stronger conference, parlay the success. I really think with Northern Illinois winning 3 of its last 4 games, they aren't particularly strong on offense, but what they are good at is containing the quarterback.
And I've always liked Fresno State because, they've always traditionally for years have been a tough team and not afraid to play anybody anywhere. Some of their preseason matchups they've had, I didn't really follow them a whole lot this year. But gotta like me some Northern Illinois.
I like Northern Illinois in this one big, 21-7. There is no Derek or David Carr or Devontae Adams to bail them out this time, right?
Right.
Now, we're going to go to the Christmas Eve game. One of my fondest memories of college football bowl games is the Hawaii Bowl. My younger brother and I, when we were younger in high school, junior high, we would stay up. We would go to the children's mass on Christmas Eve over at Assumption. And, we come home, we go to dinner, and the Hawaii Bowl would be on before we go to bed, and then we'd stay up and watch it. And I used to love watching that, man. But this year, we have the pleasure of seeing the Triple Crown receiving leader, Nick Nash, play in this game. Nick Nash led the country in every major statistical receiving category with 1,400 yards and 16 touchdowns. That is mind-blowing. And South Florida's running game is pretty good. So offense is the story of the game. So it's who's going to outlast who, right? But if you have the number 1 receiver in the country,
you're throwing it all over the parking lot.
You are. You're throwing it all over the parking lot, and that little white boy's going to go up there and catch everything. Offense is the story of the game, but it's going to be a close game because both offenses are great. I got 42-35 San Jose State. San Jose State.
I can live with that.
I can live with it. We're going to go down to the day after Christmas, the game above Sports Bowl, Pittsburgh-Toledo.
Pitt.
It's going to be a snoozer of a game, though.
Pitt's defense is nasty.
They are, but their quarterback's hurt. Eli Holstein got hurt. Toledo plays a bad brand of football. That's not a surprise to anybody. They win games because they're in the MAC. But I got 17-3 Pitt over Toledo.
Yeah, sure, we'll go with that.
I think
Another game that I probably won't watch, but it'll be on.
It'll be on. It'll be on. It'll be in the background at the Winchell home. The Rate Bowl, Rutgers, Kansas State. You made a great analysis on Kansas State earlier. They play tough.
And their quarterback's really good.
Avery Johnson. And it's not related to Avery Johnson, the basketball coach.
No.
This is a white boy with long, curly blonde hair. He looks the part of a guy who can win a bowl game. He's got 2,500 passing yards and 22 touchdowns. And the Big 12 has good competition.
Kansas State by a lot.
Kansas State 21, Rutgers 6.
Yeah.
Because Rutgers got hit by the transfer portal.
It's gonna be, a couple touchdown game.
Arkansas State Bowling Green in the 68 Ventures Bowl. Did you know that Bowling Green only allowed 20 points a game this year?
I did see that. Their defense was good.
Very good. Did you also know that their tight end, Harold Fannin Jr., had 1,300 receiving yards?
That I did not know.
Everything points to a great show by Bowling Green. Bowling Green 31, Arkansas State 14.
Sure, roll with it.
You want to roll with that?
Roll with that. Let's roll with it.
The next one, the DirecTV Holiday Bowl. This is a quarterback matchup. This is a quarterback matchup, brother.
I mean, did you just see what Navy did to Army on Saturday?
Yeah. I did.
Navy's pretty good.
Navy's very good. Oklahoma Navy is going to be an interesting game because Navy is a run first team. But Oklahoma changed everything this year against Alabama and became a run first team and beat Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson Arnold's not playing. He transferred. He's going to Auburn, which slap in the face to Oklahoma. Do you see Navy beating a team like Oklahoma? Even though Oklahoma isn't what they used to be, they're still Oklahoma.
I mean, if you want to compare athletes, Oklahoma, Navy, I mean, Oklahoma's obviously got, the better athletes.
They do.
But Navy is they're so disciplined.
Yep.
And so good at what they do. And now that they pass the ball, it makes that offense even more dangerous because the misdirection that they use and the sleight of hand, it was fun to watch them just dismantle Army the other day.
It's a sight to behold.
When it's clicking. Whew.
It's hard to beat them when it's clicking. And Navy has the advantage of now playing big time games and winning, throwing the football and running the football, which is a craft they already mastered. I say Navy 21, Oklahoma 7. Oklahoma doesn't put up any points because they're going to be missing Jackson Arnold. I would say, yeah.
2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown. I mean, it's going to be a close game. I don't think It's going to be a blowout, but I mean, if Navy's on, it'll be over.
It will be. Then we got the Birmingham Bowl, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt was a darling this year.
2 of my favorite college quarterbacks.
Diego Paiva and Haynes King, right?
Haynes King is an absolute dog.
He is.
You watch the Georgia Tech.
I did.
Game? Unbelievable.
Amazing.
This is another game where it could be a high scoring affair. Could go overtime. Who knows? Because that kid from Vanderbilt,
Diego Paiva,
tough quarterback. I like Georgia Tech in a close one.
You like Georgia Tech?
I like Georgia Tech in a close one.
Okay.
I just think Haynes King he's that guy.
Haynes King is that guy. He is that guy. He's a sophomore. He's going to be there for a little bit, but I don't think that's his day.
I also like Georgia Tech's coach.
Yeah.
And the attitude and the toughness that he's brought to that program, because you watch Georgia Tech play defense. Whew, they're nasty. They put some hurting on Georgia.
They did.
And I don't think it's going to blow. I think it'll be a close game, but I like Georgia Tech here to pull it out there in the end.
Okay. It's interesting to say that because I have Vanderbilt winning just because Vanderbilt closed out against Alabama. And it's recency bias, I know, but I like the split here. I like the split. So, guys, remember this. Nate's got Georgia Tech in this game, and I've got Vanderbilt. Lock it in. See who comes out victorious. Maybe we'll have a prize for the winner. Now, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl is Texas Tech versus Arkansas, which is the snooze bowl. Taj Brooks isn't playing for Texas Tech. He's their guy. He's the centerpiece of their offense. They scored 108 points in the final 2 games combined on the back of Taj Brooks. Now, Arkansas is going to win because Texas Tech lost all their coordinators. And it's going to be a low-scoring affair.
A not watchable game.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
It's going to be the snooze bowl and the field goal bowl. 15 Arkansas, Texas Tech 6.
Sure, sounds good. We'll go with it.
Hell yeah.
Now, this game.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Well, is as long as both quarterbacks are playing, it's going to be they'll be throwing it all over the parking lot. That game's going to be wild.
It's insane. Kyle McCord led the nation in passing.
I mean, Syracuse, they play a little bit of defense. They got a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense isn't the greatest, but man, that offense. Washington State too. I mean, you can't. Just 2 really good, solid football programs.
Solid.
Who know what they want to do, and they're very good at what they do. So I like Syracuse by a touchdown.
I like Syracuse by a lot because I think that Syracuse is going to lock in on defense and contain John Mateer. Now, John Mateer, one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, running and passing. He had 44 total touchdowns this year. Kyle McCord had 30-something. It's going to be a duel, and it's going to be a fun duel. And I like that you said that. I think, Nate, it's going to be a tough one. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. So we got Texas A&M USC. Texas A&M's not a good team. They're not. Connor Weigman left.
They go as their quarterback goes.
And their quarterback went. Their quarterback goes out the building. All that money they spent on that recruiting class, too, a few years ago. None of them are there anymore. None of them are there.
Product of nil.
And Jaden Maeva is taking over the helm for USC. I think he leads them to a win. 14 USC. Texas A&M puts up a nothing burger.
I don't know about nothing burger, but I like USC in this one.
Now, what about the Wasabi Fenway Bowl? That's weird. UConn and UNC.
Who cares?
Exactly. Cam Edwards is going to go off, and UNC is going to look to next year.
Yeah.
21 UConn, 7 UNC.
Okay, go with it.
Now, the reason I say that, though, is because UNC is also looking forward to Belichick getting in the building. So they don't give a shit.
Yeah, they don't. I don't think they're really caring much.
This is a good game coming up. The Bad Boy Mowers Penn State Bowl. Boston College versus Nebraska. Now, I know that you are... of the mind that Colorado lost to Nebraska, and I think you're of the opinion that I am. It was because Dylan Raiola lit it up against Colorado. But what's Raiola done lately?
Nothing.
He wanted to be Patrick Mahomes so bad, he forgot how to be Dylan Raiola.
I agree with that. I think it'll be a low scoring game. I don't think either one of these offenses are good. I know, watch Boston College play a couple times. Their defense is pretty decent.
They are.
I like Boston College in a close one. Field goal.
I like Boston College 17, and I like Nebraska to score 14 because Nebraska was 1-5 down the stretch this year. They did not close the season out well, and I think it continues. The Ileta, New Mexico Bowl, Louisiana versus TCU. 2 very balanced teams playing each other. 2 very balanced teams.
2 good programs.
Very good.
I know TCU had a down year this year, but they'll be all right.
TCU was 5-1 down the stretch. They improved. They did. Louisiana is extremely balanced on offense, and I think that Louisiana's balanced attack brings them to a 23-14 win. I don't foresee a big scoring game in this one, mainly because the quarterbacks aren't dynamic. Neither quarterback is dynamic on that team. We got the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Iowa State versus Miami. Is Cam Ward playing?
I haven't heard that he isn't.
I don't think anyone would opt out of this bowl because if you win, you get to eat the mascot. And I fucking love Pop-Tarts, dude. Look at me. But Miami is atrocious in bowl games.
Their defense is atrocious. The reason why they're not playing in the playoffs this year because they don't play defense.
They made Cam Ward play from behind so much. It was disgusting. That poor kid. If he would have went anywhere else, he's in the college football playoff.
My question is Iowa State intact?
Iowa State is intact.
Ooh,
they are intact.
It's going to be who has the ball last.
I'm so glad you said that because it is a 1-touchdown game for me. Iowa State 28, Miami 21. Lock that one in if you're in a money line situation. The Snoop D-O Double G Arizona Bowl. So it's Miami, Ohio versus Colorado State, and it's Colorado State's first bowl appearance since 2017. Miami was blown out by Ohio in the MAC title game. Both very run-heavy teams. I don't see it being a high-scoring game. I see it being 14-7 in favor of Colorado State. What say you?
I like Colorado State.
You do?
I do. I just, Miami didn't play well against Ohio in the championship game, and Colorado's always been tough. They play good defense, run the ball down your throat, and I just think that continues, and I think Colorado State by a tutty.
I mean, Colorado State's the reason Travis Hunter didn't play 3 games last year because he cracked them. Like, they're tough. And over under 5 marijuana references because it's the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl by the commentators.
Oh, it's going to be over.
Okay, I'll take the over. Lock that in if it's on DraftKings. Nate says over 5 marijuana references by the commentators because it's the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. I'm going to go over 2. The Go Bowling Military Bowl, East Carolina versus North Carolina State. The Battle of the Carolinas. East Carolina now has continuity because Blake Harrell is named the permanent head coach, and Dave Doran hasn't won a bowl game since 2017.
That's one of those again. It's a toss up.
It is.
NC State. I just like NC State. It's an in-state game. I like NC State by a touchdown.
I like NC State by a touchdown as well. The Valero Alamo Bowl, BYU versus Colorado. Shador gets his game. And Jack Kelly, the DE, the defensive end, who is a game changer, is going up against Jordan Seaton, the left tackle for Colorado. I don't think Seaton's experienced enough to stop him. I think Shador holds on to the ball way too long. And I don't think he really cares because he's about to go to the NFL.
Well, it's going to depend on which Colorado team shows up. The one that's interested in playing football or the one that's, looking forward to next year and
going like that.
See you later. BYU's tough. They had a good season.
They were in the playoff up until 2 weeks ago.
Oh boy. If Colorado shows up, I like Colorado, but if they're not interested in playing, I think BYU,
I got BYU by a touchdown, 35-28.
That was my thought.
The Trans Perfect Music City Bowl. I don't know what Trans Perfect means. I don't want to speculate. Iowa, Missouri, a defensive game, and Luther Burden is not playing for the Tigers, so they lose their number 1 receiver.
That's going to be another field goal game.
Field goal game to the max, because also that 5-star kid that they brought in entered the transfer portal, the defensive end. It's a field goal game. I've got Iowa 18, Missouri 15.
I think field game, but I think Missouri's just got a little bit more offense than Iowa does.
Okay, so you're going to go Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go Missouri plus
fantastic.
3. Oh.
I want to hear your thoughts on this game.
Is Alabama? Well, Alabama's not intact.
They are not intact.
And except for Alex Orji, I believe Scum is intact.
Will Johnson, I don't think, is playing.
No, he hasn't played all year. He opted out a long time ago.
He opted out mentally
months ago. Alabama. They're not going to have anybody. I mean, they lost running backs, wide receivers, defensive players, and I don't think it's going to be close. I think Scum wins by like 2 touchdowns.
See, I think Alabama comes out and beats the brakes off of them. I think it's a 45-14 game, and I don't think they let up on the throttle, man. I think it's full throttle the whole time because these kids are all auditioning for next year because it's Alabama. They are going to bring transfers in, but those kids want to play that stayed. So they're auditioning.
It'll be interesting. I'll say that much.
It's going to be very interesting. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, Louisville versus Washington. Damon Williams Jr. for Washington. A gamer. That quarterback is good. Louisville is not. Louisville made some upsets this year, though.
And their offense is decent.
Their offense is very decent, but I think Washington squeaks away.
It'll be close.
24-21 Washington. The Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. South Carolina versus Illinois. I think South Carolina should have made the playoff.
South Carolina wins, and it's not close.
Denoris Sellers goes off. He's the QB. 35-15.
Oh, yeah, I can agree with that 100%.
Kinder's Texas Bowl. Brian Kelly lost that locker room weeks ago. I don't even think Brian Kelly's the coach next year.
Well, we're going to find out.
We're going to find out because Baylor's going to beat the brakes off of him. Sawyer Robinson, that kid, that little kid, a beast. 21 Baylor, LSU 3. I don't think LSU makes an offensive touchdown. Garrett Nussmeier, I think he opted out. So that's why I'm basing my prediction on that. The Gator Bowl, Duke versus Ole Miss. What do you think?
Depends on who's got their full roster and who doesn't.
And
Jackson Dart sticking around for this game?
Jackson Dart is sticking around for
then Ole Miss.
Ole Miss?
Because I think after Jackson Dart played so bad against Florida, I think he's got something to prove, and Ole Miss they're just better. I think Ole Miss by a couple scores.
I have Duke 28, Ole Miss 22, and I think that because Malik Murphy, the quarterback for Duke, was the Texas quarterback for a while. He knows big games. I like the split here, though. I like the split. The Surfer, we only got 3 more bowl games before we get to the playoff. We're going to run through these. North Texas versus Texas State. I just think Texas State's too good. Texas State's too dynamic on offense. I don't know, but I think it's a 45-21 game, Texas State.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Go with it, Nate.
Go with it.
The Duke's Mayo Bowl. It must be your favorite bowl because that's the one that you threw out there as the example. Minnesota, Virginia Tech. Remember when Virginia Tech was good?
I think Minnesota's got something to prove.
PJ Fleck has something to prove.
They're kind of playing in Virginia Tech's backyard. I like Minnesota in a close game here. I think Minnesota by a field goal.
Okay, I'll get down with that. Finally, the Bahamas Bowl. Buffalo versus Liberty. Buffalo has studs on defense, and Caden Slater, the quarterback for Liberty, is not playing. I don't think there's much to talk about. Buffalo 21, Liberty 3. Yeah. You can't score when your main source of offense isn't fucking playing.
Yeah. When 80% of your offense is not there, then.
So, we are going to get into the college football playoff now. Before we do this, like and comment on the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Anthony, can you hear me down there? All right, Anthony, has anyone commented on the video? Has anyone interacted tonight? Are there questions out there? There's nobody. Hey, everybody at work that said that you were going to comment and interact, fuck you guys. All right, we got the college football playoff up right now. And Nate is who I'm deferring to in this. I'm going to have Nate talk about this because you guys heard me last week. I want fresh perspective. and then when he makes a point, I'm gonna counteract, or I'm gonna agree with him, whatever. Nate, get the ball rolling, brother.
All right, so we got Indiana and Notre Dame. Interesting game here. You know, Indiana's only loss was Ohio State. Notre Dame's loss was to NIU. That was early in the season. But since that game, Notre Dame has been lights out.
Lights out.
Their defense has been
Can I see a pen real quick?
unbelievable. You know, points per game, it's pretty close. Indiana second, Irish third. Points allowed, Indiana 6, Notre Dame 3rd. Passing yards, Indiana obviously 28th. Notre Dame 101. And as we talked earlier, I think it's going to depend. It's going to depend. Indiana comes out and puts up a couple scores, jumps on Notre Dame, they got a chance.
It could happen. Oh, hold up. Nick Pay, Air Noland, no longer a Buckeye.
Yes, I knew that. That just happened right before the show went off.
What?
We were busy.
You didn't tell me?
Yeah.
That's my boy.
Yeah, he's gone.
Fuck.
It'll be
Hey, Joe.
It'll be between Julian Sand and
Tavian St. Clair.
yes, that'll be
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You continue.
okay. So with that being said, you know, Indiana jumps out on them, they got a chance. But if Indiana, you know, tries to get in a dogfight with them, Notre Dame's just going to pound them.
Absolutely. Notre Dame's going to pound the shit out of them.
Notre Dame's running back is unbelievable. Great running game. Riley Green adds that dynamic. I don't think he throws enough as he should or as good as he should, but I think that between the two of them, their running game and Notre Dame's defense, I think it's going to be Notre Dame by 2 scores.
Notre Dame by 2 scores. Okay. I can get down with that. And the reason I can get down with that is because Indiana was exposed against Ohio State. Indiana makes a great script. They have a great script when they go out and they play. If you remember early in the season, Indiana played a team, Western Illinois, Tony Romo's alma mater.
Yes.
They put up a 77-piece on them, 77-piece chicken nugget. That was all a script, right? Kurt Signetti knows how to write a script, but I don't think Kurt Signetti can write a script on a Marcus Freeman-led defense.
Not only that, but I think what happened in that Ohio State-Indiana game is, as you said, things went kind of complete off script because Indiana had 2 special teams errors that basically turned the tide of that game.
Yes, they
in
did.
Caleb Downs' punt return, that was it. It was Katie bar the door game over because Indiana, they had no answer for that after that.
No answer. There was no answer at all. And it was kind of pathetic.
Like I said, Notre Dame's got the better defense, the better running game. I think Notre Dame by 2 scores.
Absolute. Notre Dame by 2 scores. I get down with that. All right. What's the next one we got, Nate?
SMU and Penn State.
Tell me about it.
Much like Indiana and Notre Dame in certain aspects, SMU's got lost to BYU and Clemson. I watched that Clemson game.
Okay.
That was a crazy game. Penn State's losses are to OSU and Oregon.
Yeah, they are.
At the time, top 2 teams in the Big Ten. I like SMU's young quarterback, the Jennings kid.
I like him as well.
Dynamic, good thrower. SMU's problem is average defense.
They have a very average defense.
Now, with that being said, again, SMU, much like Indiana, SMU jumps on Penn State.
If SMU jumps on Penn State, it's going to be a tough time because Drew Allar is not good at recovering.
But, like they say, this game's at Happy Valley. It's at Penn State.
It is because, don't forget, guys, the higher seed is the home team for the first round of the college football playoff. So we have Notre Dame at home, Penn State at home, Texas at home, Ohio State at home.
I think that experience matters.
Experience does matter.
And I think that Penn State has that experience on defense, especially on defense. Very good defense. And I think that you have the home field advantage. That place is going to be nuts.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a whiteout. It's going to be crazy down there. And I think Penn State wins. I think it'll be closer than people think it's going to be. Maybe a 10-point victory, but I got Penn State in this one.
Do you think they lean heavier on the run to control the game so that Jackson Dart isn't able, or not Jackson
Jennings,
Dart,
Ken Jennings.
Ken Jennings, so that Ken Jennings has the ball kept out of his hands?
Absolutely. That's got to be the game plan. You
Has to be.
You got to control the clock, keep the ball out of SMU's hands, much like, TTUN did to Ohio State. You control the clock, you control the game, you control the outcome.
100%. 100%. So here, I am making something while you talk here and I interject, but I want to compare brackets here with you in a moment.
Okay.
So keep it going here.
All right. So our next game, I think this one will be one of the more entertaining games of the playoffs.
Which one?
Clemson and Texas.
Tell me about it.
Well, Clemson lost to Georgia, Louisville, and South Carolina. South Carolina, a very good football team. They've really played well at the end of the year. Obviously, Georgia's Georgia, but with them, you don't know which team's going to show up.
You don't.
Louisville's bad. Texas lost to Georgia twice.
Texas did lose to Georgia twice.
Now, my thoughts on Texas are this.
Okay.
The Quinn Ewers experiment's over. Texas wants to win this game. They need to play Arch Manning. I think Quinn Ewers is hurt. I think he's been hurt most of the year.
Okay. I like where you're going with this.
And I'm just, I've never been really a big fan of Quinn Ewers. I mean, good quarterback.
See, that's crazy because I am a Quinn Ewers guy.
I just don't see it. He makes too many mistakes, too many bad throws. And there's some throws that, he struggles with. I think Texas' defense is better.
Texas does have a better defense.
I mean, I like Clemson's quarterback. Klubnik's a good quarterback. He can do some things. He throws a little, runs a little.
Cade Klubnik is a sneaky good quarterback.
But I think you're playing at Texas.
You are.
And I think defense wins championships.
It does.
And I like Texas in this one. I think it's going to be Texas. And I'm not sure that it's going to be close. I think it's going to be Texas by a couple scores because I think Texas just takes over the game defensively and special teams, and it's ball game.
I like that. I like your pick of Texas. I like your Texas pick. And I'm interested to see what you have to say next.
For the game that I'm sure that everybody's been waiting for.
Tell me about it.
OSU and Tennessee.
Yes.
Ohio State, 7.5-point favorite at home. Ohio State's losses, obviously Oregon, the scum. Tennessee lost to Arkansas, a very bad Arkansas team.
Very bad.
Lost to Georgia. Ohio State and Tennessee have a lot of similarities.
Mm-hmm.
You look at points per game, Ohio State's at 35.5, Tennessee 37.3. Points allowed, Ohio State 10.9, number one in the country. Tennessee's fourth at 13.9. Did you know that?
I did.
Very good defense.
Very good defense.
Tennessee's defensive line is very good. Yards allowed, Ohio State's number one, 241. Tennessee's fourth at 278.
Very even matchup.
Very even. The turnover differential. Again, Ohio State +6, Tennessee +5.
Very even.
So, rushing yards a game, Ohio State struggle. Obviously, with the injuries to their offensive line, when you lose 2 All-American linemen, you're going to struggle there. I think losing the center, McLaughlin, was probably the biggest hit on Ohio State had as far as injuries this year. Rush yards, Tennessee rush the ball, 232 a game.
Dylan Sampson is
an
that
absolute
guy.
Animal.
He's that guy.
256 carries, 485 yards, 22 touchdowns, almost a 6-yard per average carry. So with that being said, Ohio State's got to stop the run.
They do.
Now, to this point, should Ohio State win? Yes.
Okay.
Will they win? Well, it's going to depend.
What's it depend on, Nate?
It's going to depend on Ryan Day and Chip Kelly.
Okay.
They want to play bully ball, try to be tough guys, and run the ball against Tennessee. It's not going to go well. It's just not. And we saw that against Scum. It didn't go well.
Does not go well.
And I said before that game, actually, I was on a group chat with a couple people, Mr. Butch Goen, Zach, and a couple of others. And I said before the game, Ohio State has to throw the ball all over the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Got to soften Michigan up. Got to open those run lanes up. So with that being said, the same thing applies here. Now, Tennessee's defense is good.
They are.
They're not Michigan good up front, but they're good. But their defense is a little suspect.
It is.
You look at the Arkansas game, look at a couple other games they played in. Secondary, there's some yards and points there to be had. Ohio State, they come out, they pass the ball, they open it up, leads to the run game. Defense contains Simpson because the quarterback Tennessee's good, but he's young.
So interesting stat about him, Nico Iamaleava. He only had one 300-yard game all year, and it came against Chattanooga. Mm-hmm. And he was hurt a lot of the year.
He's a kid. He takes a shot, he gets rattled.
Yep.
Saw that in the Alabama game.
100%.
Saw that in other games that Tennessee played in. I've watched a couple of their games. So I think the recipe for Ohio State's going to be, you got to pass the ball. Got to open it up. Got to marry the run with the pass. I know in a lot of circles it's frowned upon. Everyone's run first, open the pass. No. In this game, Ohio State's got to pass the ball.
They have to.
And they have to be effective. They got to get back to their RPO game. They got to get back to some of the things that they were, really effective with early in the season. If they do that, I think Ohio State wins. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to, a field goal, maybe a touchdown.
Okay.
But I like Ohio State in this one.
You like Ohio State. So far, you have Ohio State versus Oregon, Texas versus Arizona State, Notre Dame versus Georgia, and Penn State versus Boise State at that point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we differ. Because I think SMU beats Penn State. That's the only thing I have on my bracket that's different.
Well, and the recipe, again, for SMU to win is the same as Indiana. They got to jump all over Penn State.
They have to.
They can't get in a dogfight with Penn State.
No.
They get because the Penn State will just wear you down.
They will.
And
because of their running game.
Because of their running game. And but I would say, is there a chance? Well, there's always a chance. But you have to do what you have to do to be successful. And that's same for Penn State. They got to control the ball, play good defense. You control the ball, you control the game. That's how you're going to beat SMU, by keeping that offense off the field.
Okay.
We want to go into second round matchups. We got time for that?
We have time. So I have Ohio State versus Oregon. I think Ohio State will be out for blood. And I think that Ohio State actually beats Oregon on the strength of wearing them down on the outside. Those corners showed in the Ohio State-Oregon game that they cannot keep up with Jeremiah Smith. They can't do it. If Emeka Egbuka is coming over the middle and the linebackers drop back into coverage, that's going to be a problem because Oregon's linebackers are quick. But my thought is if Ohio State matches up with Oregon, it's a better matchup this time.
It'll be a neutral site.
It's a neutral site game. It's not at Autzen, and it's not at Ohio Stadium.
The other thing that Ohio State, if they beat Tennessee and they get to that matchup, they got to contain the quarterback.
Dylan Gabriel, they have to.
They too many times Ohio State defensive ends were coming inside instead of maintaining their, outside leverage. You can't do that against a guy like Dylan Gabriel because he showed you. He burned you. He burned you more than
every
once.
time.
He burned you more than once. And there's other teams that played against Oregon that gave you the roadmap to how to contain him.
Boise State.
Keep him in the pocket. You keep him in the pocket. The running back's pretty good for Oregon, but I don't know. I don't know about that one. I like Ohio State. I think you're right. They're going to come out for blood. Mm-hmm. And I think it'll be a different game. I think it'll be a close game again. I don't think anyone's blowing anyone out in that game.
No.
But, I like Ohio State. I think that'll be a close game if it gets to that.
If it gets to that game, do you think Ohio State wears their blackout uniforms?
They should.
They should absolutely, to make a statement. They're wearing the blood red.
Yeah, they got the all scarlet uniforms.
So I have Ohio State in my Final Four. I have Texas versus Arizona State, just like you do. I think Texas plays Arizona State. I think Arizona State's the weakest team in the automatic bids. They're a good team. But I don't think if you get a team like Texas that goes out there and wants to sling the ball, they don't stand a chance against Texas. Arizona State falters.
I got one name for you.
Give me the name.
Scattaboo.
You love that guy.
That dude is an absolute. What he did to
He's
Iowa,
Jacob Bell.
What he did.
Shout out Jake Bell.
What's up, Jake? What they did to Iowa State. I mean, the dude is it's unmerciful. And he runs the ball. He catches the ball.
He does.
And they've got a very nice screen game. Their quarterback is very sound, very solid. That could be an interesting matchup.
It could be.
That's, again, probably the same thing applies for Texas as it does maybe as it would in the Penn State game. Got to keep Arizona State off the field.
You have to.
Because you let that running back for Arizona State run wild. Anything, it'd be crazy. Anything could happen.
Anything could happen. Who do you think wins between Texas and Arizona State?
Texas. I just think they have the better defense.
Okay. Who do you think wins between Ohio State and Oregon?
Ohio State.
Okay. So we have the same there. Now, you had Notre Dame over Indiana. They're going to be playing Georgia in that case. I have the same thing. Georgia, Notre Dame. Who comes out on top?
I think Notre Dame does. I think Notre Dame right now they're probably playing the best of any team in the country. By far got one of the best defenses in the country.
I would agree.
And I think right now Georgia offensively, Georgia's kind of a mess.
They are.
They don't really run the ball. They don't do really one thing. They got an outstanding tight end. That Oscar Delp is a fine tight end they have over there in Georgia. I think Notre Dame.
You think Notre Dame?
Absolutely.
I have the same thing. Now I have SMU over Penn State. Okay, but you have Penn State over SMU. So Boise State versus Penn State, who wins?
Boise State.
Boise State. Okay. Now I have the same thing, Boise State over SMU. So we have the exact same Final Four, you and I.
All right.
So Ohio State, Texas. Who do you got?
That's a toss-up.
Toss-up?
I have to go. I got to go with Texas in this game. I think Texas's defense is just maybe not as good as Ohio State, but they're fast.
Very fast.
And I think that it creates some problems. But again, it all this depends for Ohio State on their line play.
Mm-hmm.
How does the line? Because I know they're making adjustments. I haven't had a chance to really look today and see what was going on.
They're talking about a Heisman at center.
That's really their only option.
It's interesting.
They really think that's the only option that they have at center. I just think Texas's defensive line, and not even for that, Texas' offensive line.
Kelvin Banks is a beast. He's a beast to tackle.
I think Texas wins a close one there.
Okay. I have Texas in there as well. Now, Notre Dame, Boise State. Who you got?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. We have the same final matchup, baby. Now, why do you think Notre Dame's going to beat Boise State?
Notre Dame's defense.
Notre Dame's defense.
And I think that they offensively, I think again, as you go back and you look at some of the other games, Notre Dame control the clock.
Mm-hmm.
You control the clock, you control the game.
Every time.
And Notre Dame's running back, he's pretty good.
He's very good.
So is Boise State's. I mean,
the kid's a fucking animal.
But I like Notre Dame. I think when it comes down to it, I think Notre Dame is just right now playing the best football out of anybody in this bracket.
Okay. So we both have Texas versus Notre Dame for our national champion. Who do you have for your national champion in that scenario?
I got Notre Dame. Got to ride the hot team, man. I just think that they're on a mission, and I think that what Marcus Freeman's done over there with that defense, I mean, that defense they're sound in every aspect.
They are.
Pass coverage, run game. Do they have enough offense? I think they'll have enough to beat Texas.
I will get that. Riley Leonard can sling the football when he needs to, and he can get out of the pocket when he needs to.
He's sneaky.
He's very sneaky. He's been playing college football for 9 years, it seems. Now, I have Texas beating Notre Dame in the national title game, and I have them beating it because I think Quinn Ewers comes back from being injured, has something to prove, and wants to shut everybody up and say, Arch is good, but I was the number 1 recruit in the nation for a reason. I was the highest rated recruit of all time for a reason at quarterback. I'm going to lead this team, and I'm going to do it.
Now, what do you think is going to happen? Just per se, say Clemson pulls one off.
It changes my whole bracket.
Things are going to get real ugly in Texas.
Yeah.
Because by no means is it a game Texas should lose.
No. Cade Klubnik's good, but he's not.
I mean, Clemson, they're okay, but they play in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
If they should fall to Clemson, it's going to get real ugly down. It's going to get real ugly down in Texas.
If Penn State loses, it's going to get real ugly in Penn State because James Franklin, he could get fired.
He might get fired if they lose.
He might.
Because they shouldn't lose that game either.
No.
But again, like with anything, it's how do you play the game?
How do you play?
Do what you need to do to win, or do you try to prove a point to everybody that you can do this and that and the other thing? And then it not just applies to Penn State, applies to Notre Dame, applies to Georgia, it applies to Ohio State.
Sure does.
Ohio State has to do what they have to do to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
They can't try to prove a point and be cute, and they got to do what they do well, and that's how they're going to win the game. If they don't,
I don't know what to tell you.
Can we talk about one more thing real quick?
Let's do it.
We'll close it up. We're going to talk about Ryan Day.
Throw it to me, brother.
So, obviously, this is a hot topic in Ohio. I mean, if you go on any of Ohio State's message boards, it's fire Ryan Day, fire Ryan Day, fire Ryan Day.
I'm of that camp.
So I'm going to throw in everyone, 1-4 against Michigan can't have that. So I'm curious. Do you happen to know what Woody Hayes' record against Michigan was? Oh, I can't believe I just said that.
0-6?
No, Woody Hayes' record against Michigan.
Oh, no.
He was 16-11-1.
Oh.
Against Michigan.
I'm thinking of John.
You're thinking of Cooper.
Yeah, John Cooper. I'm thinking of John Cooper.
Terrible choice for a coach for Ohio State.
That was a bad.
Should have never fired Earl Bruce, but that's a whole nother.
That's all other can of worms we can get into.
So let's real quick in that whole subject. They're not going to fire Ryan Day.
Well, Kirby Smart's 1-5 against Alabama, by the way.
Yeah, and everyone wants to bitch about Ryan Day's record against Michigan. Ryan Day's 66-10.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't he have a better record than Urban Meyer?
Percentage wise, yeah.
Okay.
If you look at the history of college football coaches,
mm-hmm.
Nick Saban went to Michigan State,
mm-hmm.
had some success.
He did,
but it wasn't until he got to LSU, and I believe, off the top of my head, it was year 7 or year 8 where he finally started to get things rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Day took last year, and he decided, you know what, I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to be the CEO of this team
mm-hmm.
instead of being the coordinator. Hired Chip Kelly. Good hire, bad hire, I don't know. I guess that one's up for debate too.
It's up for debate.
But the fact of the matter is he made the changes he needed to make. And I think there's more changes coming.
Mm-hmm.
I think Larry Johnson's going to be out as defensive line coach. I think that Justin Fry's gone.
Thank God you said that.
Please, because he of all the coach, he needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
Got to go. Got to get him because he can't recruit. Obviously, you look at the situation they're in, and this has been ongoing. This isn't like a 1-year situation. See, this is since Justin Fry stepped on campus.
Yep.
And the reason you're not going to fire Ryan Day, football is a big business.
Big business.
You fire Ryan Day, 2/3 of that roster walks out the door.
Absolutely.
And not only the repercussions of firing Ryan Day would set this program back years. It's not like he is. Yes, he's they call about the big game struggles. Okay, Clemson game. Terrible officials call on the fumble. Ohio State should have had the ball. Game should have been sealed. Unfortunately, Marvin Harrison got hurt against Georgia. He doesn't get hurt, I think, is a different story.
100%.
So that narrative can change one way or the other. But Ryan Day arguably is the best recruiter in the country. And kids don't come to Ohio State for the money.
No, they come there to win titles.
They come to win and to be prepped to go to the pros.
Yeah.
You can look online and find as many videos as you want. And Ohio State has what they call the brotherhood. And it's real. A lot of teams can say whatever, we're strong, we're tight. But Ohio State has the brotherhood. I think Ryan Day makes these changes. Implement some other things. Got to find a way to keep Ryan Hartline.
He interviewed for the WVU opening.
Yeah,
and Rich Rodriguez went back.
No, I don't think that he was going to VW.
No, I think it was an interview to get him ready to interview in the future.
But I don't think if you're Ohio State, I think you have to give Ryan Day, at the minimum, you give him one more year.
Sure.
Because they're there. I mean, they're out 10-win season after 10-win season. Who can say that?
Nobody
can say that.
The Alabamas, the Clemsons, the Georgias, we're right there.
And people bring up, well, they got destroyed by Alabama. Well, okay, in the championship game. Well, that was in the COVID year. And Ohio State was missing 16 players off their roster.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're excuses, but things factor.
There are factors.
Factors into this. Ryan Day knows the direction he wants to go, I think. I think he's trying to get there, but it's a process. And I think firing Ryan Day would be as bad as when Ohio State fired Earl Bruce. Because who's out there that's going to replace Ryan Day for what he does? As far as recruiting, keeping these kids in school, graduating, doing everything. What coach out there is that guy right now in college football? Cignetti's not going anywhere.
No.
Marcus Freeman's not going anywhere.
He will never come to Ohio State. He hates Ohio State.
So, Kirby Smart obviously is not coming to Ohio State.
No.
So what college football coach out there is going to have the impact that Ryan Day has on this program? And not only that, the money.
I think there's only one that could come realistically and do what he does. And if they threw the money at him, he would leave. Steve Sarkisian. Sarkisian could leave Texas and come to Ohio State, but it wouldn't happen because Sarkisian is so in there because of the Mannings. He wants to be the coach for Arch Manning. He wouldn't leave to go to Ohio State.
So, I mean,
but there is one. But
there's your dilemma. I mean, there's your dilemma. And, everybody in this, 90% of this fan base, Ohio State's one of the toughest places to coach in college football.
It is. The expectations are through the roof.
You're expected to obviously be the team up north every year, which we should have won this year.
Should have.
Could have won last year.
Could have.
Shouldn't have taken the beating we took in 2021.
Shouldn't have.
But shit happens. So that's my thoughts on Ryan Day.
And I love him. And I love that you came out and you said it. I was one of the people that was in the Fire Ryan Day camp last year, and I was very pissed that we lost this year. I mean, I didn't think there was an excuse, but then I see the Kirby Smart is 1-5 against Bama. Hey, he's 1-5 against Bama, but they're in the playoff. And at the end of the day, now, I hate saying this, but the 12-team playoff makes it so that Michigan isn't that big of a deal anymore. It really isn't.
Nope.
It really isn't. And,
sad.
And it's going to expand. It's going to be a 16-team playoff.
They're already talking about adding 4 more teams to it in 26 or 27?
2026. So not next year, but the year after. Another 4 teams. 16 teams make the playoff. That's insane. You're going to see 4 lost teams in a playoff. At this point, they should just say screw it and do a 64-man field.
Not only that, they need to change the structure of the way the playoffs are set up. I don't think because you win your conference, you should get an automatic bid. Because I think your record should play into it.
Absolutely. Your record should 100% play
And
into it.
what I think they should do is go back to the way they rated it during the BCS era and base it off of that. So then you have your top 12 teams. They're in the playoffs. That's where they're slotted. That's where seeded. You get rid of the championship games. You get rid of these stupid 2 bye weeks that they have during the season. Get these kids off the field January. Be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Will it happen? I doubt it, because NCAA is all about the money. Money,
Johnny.
money. That's all they care about. And that's why college football is in the position that they're in right now.
It's a weird position to be in. It's a bad position to be in, but also a good position to be in, because college football is the talk of the town. No matter what other sport is on, college football still reigns supreme from August until January. Because NFL, people love the NFL, but people love watching college.
I
So
could care less about the NFL, but that's a story for another day.
Another day.
All right, brother.
Appreciate you, Nate. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We got Nate Winchell here with us tonight for an awesome talk about Travis Hunter and the Heisman. Did some bowl game previews, and then we did our brackets. Nate's got the University of Notre Dame winning the college football playoff, and I've got the University of Texas winning the college football playoff. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like the video, share the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel so we can continue to bring you great content every week and keep getting great guests like Nate. I'm Tom.
I'm Nate.